This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to WFO Radio. Joe Castello back with you, and I am super excited. We're going to talk with Don the Snake Prudhomme about his new book, My Life Beyond 1320, just seconds from now. If you're out there watching on Facebook Live, we appreciate it. YouTube, if you're on Twitter, welcome. We're going to dive in with the snake, and of course, it'll all be available on WFOradio.com. We do NHRA drag racing podcasts and stories, and been doing the show for over 10 years. And I got to say, Snake has always been very gracious to come on the show. This time, I think, frankly, this is the ultimate holiday gift idea. It's available on Amazon.com. It's on WFO Radio in our store. You can definitely check out the book. And I already checked. If you ordered right now, it would be here like by the 12th or something. Like they have got this thing ready to go on Amazon.com. So I do have sponsors, people who make the show possible. I feel like they'll be okay with me telling you who they are, what they do, and why they support us after we speak with Snake. And so without further ado, let's bring him on, one of the greatest legends of all time in NHRA drag racing, motorsports, and beyond, Mr. Don Prudhomme. Snake,
hey.
Welcome. How are you?
There you are. How you doing?
I am great. You've been working on this book for a while. It is now together. People are buying it. It's got to be a relief.
Oh boy, yeah. It's been 2 years worth working on it, and I just think that it fits in great for this, for where I'm at in my life. Drag racing for 60, 70 years it seems like, and now I'm all done with that. And so doing a book, I had time basically to sit down and really do it with Ilana Scher, and she did a great job.
Contributing editor, car and driver, extremely knowledgeable person when it comes to automobiles and motorsports. What about the process, though? Thinking about what you wanted to include. What was that like?
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're breaking up on me. But I can tell you, Ilana did a great job, and there's just stories in the book that, and I think the main story is that when I was growing up in the San Fernando Valley, out in Van Nuys, I was growing up there, a young kid, and be honest, going to school wasn't my most favorite thing to do. And I didn't really think I'd amount to much. And lo and behold, I end up getting into drag racing, joining a car club called the Road Kings of Burbank, joining the club. Ivo was in the club, Tom Ivo. And we had a great relationship, and we raced together, and he showed me a lot of stuff. And next thing I know, I started winning some trophies and then started making a little money.
Prior to the Road Kings, what did you do? What was your life like? Sports? What?
Oh, no sports. Well, you'll see in the book, I wasn't very good in school. I had a lot of problems. I went to a Catholic school, and there's a whole section in the book about that. I don't want to bore you with that right now, but I really went into painting cars. That was my main thing, was painting cars. And as far as I was concerned, I was just going to be a car painter. I loved doing it, actually. I could do it, I could shoot enamel really well, where a lot of guys couldn't. I painted Ivo's car, Tony Nancy's car, and several dragsters and funny cars.
How did you meet the Road Kings? How did that happen?
I got in the Road Kings. I was in a car club called the Chancellors at first in Van Nuys, and it was Van Nuys Chancellors, and they were a cruising club. I mean, they were great guys, but they wanted to cruise, set the cars down low and cruise through bobs and stuff. And I liked it, but I was looking for something else. And I knew about San Fernando Drag Strip. I was out there once with my dad, actually. And I thought, and I've always had that in the back of my mind, how could I get to do that? Well, I met a guy by the name of Skip Torgerson in Van Nuys there. And Skip was telling me about the Road Kings of Burbank. And there's this guy in the club called by the name of Tom Ivo. And I had a 55 Buick, and Ivo had a 55 Buick. And he introduced me to the Road Kings. And really, that's where I got my start, because they had a club dragster They actually had a dragster that we'd all take turns driving the car. And I did quite well driving it. I mean, I could run quicker and faster than some of the other guys. And it seemed like I had, for once in my life, I had a knack for something, and it was drag racing. And really, that's how it happened.
Wow. And you go on the road with TV Tommy and had some amazing experiences along the way. Would imagine the book is loaded with them.
Well, it sure is, yes. And it certainly is. I learned a lot with him. First thing I learned about is that you could actually take a car and put it on a trailer and tow it around the country and stop at different little drag strips. And you call them ahead of time, of course, and you stop at the drag strips, and they would pay you to run the car. You would actually make money running the car. And I was shocked when Ivo got paid. A track operator came over at the end of the night at our first race, and he sat there and counted out all these bills on the hood of his car. And I thought, holy cow, you know, how could I do this? And so that's where it started thinking, Jesus, you know, up until that time, racing was just for fun. There was no money.
In the book, and maybe it's the first time you mentioned this, you toured the country, you saw the world, and you go into personal ethnicity. I know it's been bantered about for years, but I've never heard you address it. And I find that to be great and interesting. But being on the road kind of gave you some insights. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, you mean as far as in the South and being in prejudice and things
Yes.
like that? Of course,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that was the first time that I was ever down in the South like that with Ivo, and there was drinking fountains for white only and black people over here. So it was something. And I'm of a mixed race. I'm French Creole, and so you know that's what I go by, and that's what I am. My folks are from Louisiana, a nice little area down there in Louisiana called Cane River, and they're right off the river. And they moved to California, and actually I was born in California, but I was raised basically, for no other easier words, I was raised white, you know, so it wasn't like I grew up in what I call a black family. I was in basically a white family, and we were Creole. So like my sister's a blonde-headed girl, my other sister's got kind of reddish hair, and so you know we all look a little bit different. We're like a bunch of cats, really. Kittens.
I love the analogy, but
Yeah.
that era, out on the roads, trying to make money, barnstorming through the deep South, through the country. I'm sure it was fun, but there had to be some moments where it wasn't fun. Maybe it was scary just being out there at that time. You couldn't get somebody on your cell phone real easy.
Well, you didn't have cell phones back then, and you're lucky to stop at a payphone and make a call and call home, which I didn't have to do that very often. I wasn't married or anything. So, no, it was not scary. It was really exciting. It was like going through school, you know, going through a college, you know, because there's just so much you can learn out there and so many people. Man, I got to meet the Greek, Chris Karamessinis, and I was about 19 years old. And we went to his house. He lives in Chicago. We went to his place in Chicago, went over to his house for dinner that night, and he had a Tommy gun sitting on the bar at his house. I mean, he was the Greek, and he was Chris Karamessinis, and he was a badass. And so he's always been my hero, but that's one of the things out of the tour that I think I cherished the most was hanging out with Chris Karamessinis when I was like about 19.
And still is a badass. He just got out the other day, so he says.
Come back?
He just hung it up the other day. The Greek is just finished racing.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry we're having some breakup here on the
Wow.
communication.
Sorry.
So,
Talk a little bit about you.
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah, my apologies. The internet is acting weird. You and TV Tommy. I heard you guys were practical jokers. Practical jokes, you and Tommy Ivo.
Practical jokes.
You
Oh
and
my
TV
God.
Tommy.
Ivo, he lived for it. You know, and be honest with you, we went away on tour of the best of friends, and we came back the biggest of enemies. It just didn't work. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this on your listeners, but you go away with somebody, you think you really know him, and he's got habits that drove me crazy, and I had habits that drove him crazy. And so by the time we got back to California, I got out of the car and slammed the door, and that was all that I wanted to see of Ivo, you know, because he could wear on you because of his practical jokes. And not only that, you sit down and have dinner with him, and he's taking salt and pouring it on his steak, you know, and just where it looks like it snowed on the top of it. He was just a strange dude to me. And he'd want to sleep. He wanted to sleep all day, and we'd work all night or race all night and come back and sleep all day. And that's still his lifestyle today. But Tommy Ivo is a special guy, though. He really is. He's done a lot for the sport. He's done a lot for especially touring racers. He was one of the first guys that I know that was on tour, along with, K.S. Pittman and guys like that, of course, Gartlets, but they were on tour. And he's one of the guys that paved the way for guys like me and other guys to show that you can make a living actually doing this drag racing if you worked hard enough at it and build a name up for yourself.
Many great photographs in the book. The story, incredible, but the photos.
Well, the photos are really, that's awesome. That's Garlis and myself. That's Keith Black and Roll Leong, the Hawaiian, 1965. That's my, standing next to the Hawaiian. So we have, that's of course, that's my wife, Lynn, and my daughter, Donna. That was probably about 75 or so. But, it's a hell of a book because it's a hardback book. It's a coffee table book. It's not just a small little book you get, it's the real deal. So that's what I like about it. And the pictures, once again, Joe, you're right. The pictures are amazing, especially ones that my sisters have dug up and of me as a child and my childhood struggles and things like that is all in the book.
You've been successful at just about everything you've tried, except for.
Yes, well, I was hanging out at Dave Zuchel's place. He was the engine builder. Actually, he was a competitor of Keith Black's. And I was hanging out over his place, and they had this brand new shiny boat all ready to run. And they asked me, and I want to drive it. And I said, sure. Little did I know how dangerous those things were. And about the second day, we came back out, run 135, come back out the next day, making a pass down through at Marine Stadium in Long Beach and hit a wake, and the boat flew and pitched me out of the boat. And the only thing I remember is when I came up out of the water, my helmet was floating next to me, and it scared the hell out of me. I thought my head was in it, but it tore me up pretty good. I've never been in one of those boats since. It was a stupid thing to do, but when you're young, you drive anything.
You look cool. You look cool in there. All right, let's advance. So much covered about the Greer Black Prudhomme dragster, just great stories, but let's advance to this era, Snake and Mongoose. You didn't like the name Snake at first. That was surprising to me.
Well, I didn't like the name Snake at first. I was driving the Greer Black Prudhomme dragster, and one of the guys in the crew put it on me. A guy by the name of Joe Castello started calling me Snake, and I went, oh, Snake, that doesn't sound great, but lo and behold, the announcer started calling me Snake. And then once that happened, man, it was real easy. I mean, Don Prudhomme, my last name to pronounce, a little strange to pronounce. It's difficult to pronounce. It's the French name. And so the name Snake was just an instant handle. Plus, I like to think that I lived up to that reputation, too, because I was always, if I wasn't first off the start line, I was damn close to it, whoever I was racing. So we were nice and quick. And, of course, Mongoose, Tom McEwen came along and beat us a few times, and he started calling himself the Mongoose, Tom McEwen, the Mongoose, and we become just absolutely the best of friends. And he had this idea, we learned early in the sport that we need money. We could do it on junkyard parts when we first started, but as time went on, we needed sponsorship. We needed money. And at that time, there was Pennzoil and some other companies, Champion spark plugs like that in the sport, but no real non-automotive sponsors in the sport. But Tom had the idea because of his kids, wanted these little Hot Wheel cars. And I didn't know anything about Hot Wheel cars. And he approached me about it. And I said, hey, man, go for it. So he went over to Mattel and started talking to them. And next thing I know, they wanted me over there. And the next thing I know, they had a couple of funny cars all drawn up, and they sponsored us. And matter of fact, I still have deals with Mattel, still have sponsorship.
Tremendous. And that helped drag racing so much. We can't even say. So let's advance the conversation to, 70s, 80s. You're now the Snake, winning championships, running the Army car, iconic car.
Yes. The Army car was an amazing car. The sponsorship from them was amazing because when I went from Hot Wheels and went to Carefree, and then Kenny Youngblood sat down and drew up a drawing of the how the Army car should look. And of course, we approached the Army, and they were all for it. We went to their agency and put together a nice deal. And so we had good sponsorship, but really that car without Bob Brandt wouldn't be the car that it was. Bob did a great job. We worked really well together on the car and turned that Army car into, we won 4 world championships with the car, so a series of cars. We had the Monza, and the Plymouth Arrow was a bad Axter too.
I want to remind the audience out there, you can get the book on Amazon.com. We've got a link on WFOradio.com. You can get the book, and it'll be here before Christmas. That's why we're having Snake on the show to tell you about it for the Christmas gift out there for the drag racer in your life. 80s, 90s, Snake, you had to take a break after Pepsi. You did some TV work, but at that time, you were a superstar. In fact, Mario Andretti and Kenny Bernstein, they've got Roland, have versions of stories in the book as well, like their side of the story. That's kind of cool. Tell me a little bit about the Mario connection.
You're going to hate me, man, but I didn't hear a damn word you said. That?
Best question.
You're breaking up big time. I don't know if it's me or you. No, right there. You sounded good right there. Try it again.
Mario Andretti.
There it is. Now I can hear you great. Mario Andretti. I love Mario. He's got a piece in the book, too. I met Mario when I was driving the Shelby Super Snake, along with A.J. Foyt and Dan Gurney. We had sponsorship by Ford, run the Ford overhead camera. We had a deal up in Las Vegas, and they had our car up there. And that's where Mario and Foyt and Gurney, they were there, too, because, they had just won the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So Ford was very happy. And we took photos together, and there's a great photo in the book, a photo I cherish of the 3 of us, or I should say 4 of us hanging out together. It was really super.
Amazing. So many icons. But then the Skoal car. I think about the late 80s after TV, coming back to drag racing again. It was kind of different. It was more polished. It was on TV. What was that like? Well,
that was great. My career hasn't always been just, ice cream and cake. It's we struggled. Matter of fact, in 1986, it's the year I took off in 86. Actually, I quit. I retired, or I didn't know what the word retiring meant, but I quit. At the end of 85, we ran out of sponsorship, and I took that year off and collect my thoughts because I was really burnt out. Bob Brandt and I, we won those championships together, and we were racing, and racing was changing. It was no longer the one guy tuning the car, jumping in it, working on the clutch, and become the computer age. So the sport had changed, and Bernstein was out there and Dale Armstrong. My God, they were just really killing them. And I was kind of sitting on the sidelines. And so I decided to get back into the sport. And so in 86, 87, I got back into the sport and happened to get Skull Bandit. And boy, we stayed together till the time I retired.
How satisfying was the win at Gainesville when you returned against Kenny Bernstein?
Well, I beat Kenny at the first race when he came back in '87 at Gainesville, and so that was quite a deal because they were really running good, and his car got loose and mine didn't, and I won the race and won the whole event. And but he was a tough customer. Kenny was really strong, and with Dale Armstrong, but Kenny actually showed me and many other racers out there what you need to do to keep your sponsors happy and how to conduct yourself at the track and so on. So I really learned a lot from Kenny Bernstein, and I think a lot of us in the sport did. The professionalism and the business mind he had on him. He's a hell of a businessman, and I picked up some of that stuff.
Was there anything that you wish you had included in the book now that it's all wrapped up?
Is there anything I wish I had included in the book?
That you didn't already?
I'll be real honest with you. No, I haven't laid awake at night one time thinking about, geez, I wish I had done this or done that. We had worked on this book, Ilana and myself, for like 2 years, and we went back and forth over things. And my wife, Lynn, of course, she was a proofreader. My daughter read the proofs and so on. And no, we're real happy with it. And I lay it all out there, folks. I mean, when you see this book, and especially when you get to the first chapter and stuff, you're going to see that this is a guy that lays his whole life out in front of you. And I don't pull any punches. I tell it like it is. And I think it's been interesting reading, at least from the fans that have bought the book have certainly liked it.
Our listeners are already posting that they're ordering it right now. They're buying the book as we speak. Snake, thank you very much for coming on the show, laying it out, fighting the internet. Really appreciate you.
And if you want one of these babies, it's snakeracinggear.com. Snakeracinggear.com. And as you can see, it's a coffee table book. It's a do I have it on the screen?
Yes, perfect. That's
it's a coffee table book. It's good reading, and I'm proud of the book.
Snake, thank you very much. Really appreciate you.
Nice being on the show.
Absolutely. Good luck. Happy holidays to you and the family, and we'll see you in NHRA 2021. Thank you so much.
Peace. All right.
There he goes. Don the Snake Prudhomme with us here on WFO Radio. Snake was fantastic. And you heard, get the book. I'm getting the book. And I know a bunch of people that I know are getting the book because I think it's the perfect Christmas gift to get for the drag racer in your life. We have posted the link on WFOradio.com. You can just click on the link and start getting the book. Snake just gave his address to his website, snakeracinggear.com. All kinds of great places to get the book. And I love the fact we were able to connect with Don Prudhomme. And for those of you out there, really appreciate you checking out WFO Radio, and been fighting this crazy issue on the other end of the line. And I really don't know how to figure it out. Somebody's saying internet sunspots. I can tell you that I've gone through a lot of testing, and it's just a random situation as to whether or not the guests can hear us clearly. But we'll get to the bottom of it. It's like having a correct connecting rod issue, and we're just trying to sort it out. In the meantime, though, put your comments in the comments section as we get ready to bounce up on out of here. We want to tell you about the people who make it possible, like Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. Folks at TotalSeal.com doing a great job. Got some new podcasts getting ready to drop with them as well, TotalSeal.com. Also, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, FrankHawley.com. Whether you want to drive a dragster like Snake or you want to get an alcohol funny car license, Frank Hawley can put you in the right track. Also, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. with Sam Tech. If you want to become like Snake was talking, he didn't know what he was going to do. Now, if you know what you want to do, you can go to Sam Tech and get a great education, samtech.edu. And Marvin Rodak, rodakscoffeeandgrills.com, the hot sauces and the spice rubs and everything good. rodakscoffeeandgrills.com. And I just got some Rodaks in the mail the other day. It is awesome gourmet coffee. I think it is the perfect Christmas gift because it is an experience that lasts well beyond Christmas morning. Also, I mentioned the WFO Radio store, WFOradio.com. We have links to where you can purchase Snake's book, and I would do it up, but you can also get a WFO Radio face covering if you want to stay safe and protected out there in the world as we come to, hopefully, the final conclusion of this pandemic situation we're all dealing with. And the folks at nitrofishracing.com, they have got our gear, nitrofish.com. Check them out. Use the promo code WFO20. And, for Snake, he couldn't hear me. And so it's a miracle that we got through. That's 2 days in a row. On WFO, you, the listener, you get to hear everything on WFO. But, good and bad, right? Like, we're not going to color it, as far as you know, in a broad brush. But look at what I dug out here. This is my Don the Snake hat and hat pin collection. I got this one I got from Mongoose at Palm Beach, and I got my Snake Racing 1985 pin up here. And like, I've been a Snake fan since the beginning. Like, since I was born, I listen to my dad all the time, and he's just like, Snake's the man. And sure enough, Snake is the man. So hopefully you guys were able to hear it like I did. If not, the podcast will be perfect audio available on our podcast feed, Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud. You can check it out. We got our WFO Radio patrons, but let's see what you guys have to say. We got some comments stacking up. Comments are stacking up, and see what we have to say. Like, for instance, Larry Spider-Man McBride, who was on the show a few weeks ago, says, WFO, what's up, Larry? That was a great show with Larry, by the way. That's the thing about WFO. You just don't know what's going to happen. And Spider-Man, after his record run, jumps on WFO unannounced. It was great. Craig says, badass. I got some reports the audio was a little weird, but it's not the same for everybody is the challenge with this. Post the link in the description too. It's already up on our website, but we definitely will. Fantastic interview. Thank you very much, Monica. Tops says, Jeff, appreciate you. Hi, Joe. Any chance of getting the Greek on the show? He mentions the Greek. We had the Greekette, Krista Baldwin, on the show a few weeks ago for a happy hour. We had beverages. It was great. And we talked about it. I certainly would want to sort out my issues that we're having occasionally with the audio and the guests, but man, it would be awesome to have the Greek on the show. And I think Krista could make it happen in the right circumstance, especially if I promise some shivas. Let's see. Next up, Randy Gee. Would be awesome. Yes, it would be to have the Greek on the show. Derek says, maybe they need to use earbuds. I noticed that folks are saying they aren't wearing them. Device canceling audio versus mic out. Yes, that is a challenge. Not everybody has these earbuds. And so, we do extensive testing, and it works great in the test. And so, when we go out on track for first round eliminations, the problem comes up. All my analogies come back to drag racing. But thank you very much, Derek. We are going to try it, and we're going to keep on keeping on. Or we just shut it down for the winter. That could happen too. How about a group call with Snake, Big Daddy, and the Greek? Yeah, exactly. Snake, Big Daddy, and the Greek on there. And why would I need to be there? No reason. I will just sit in the audience and watch, as I have been known to do on this show. Craig says, only been starstruck a couple of times. Meeting the Snake at Pomona, California was one of them. Yeah, I agree. I have met some famous people. I do not get starstruck. I get starstruck with Snake a little bit right now because he's a childhood hero. He's the guy. I've said this story on our Ignition show a few times. I'll tell it to you guys right now. The comic book craze that everybody is in and involved in till right now, the Marvel, Avengers, Captain America, Spider-Man, all of that stuff, comic books, never was into it, never into comic books. And, even, sports. Yeah, I don't know. When I was a kid, my heroes were drag racers, Snake and Mongoose, right? Like, you don't need to be in a comic book if you're going 240 miles an hour in real life. guy in a costume, Stan Lee, great artist, amazing. I appreciate it much more now, by the way, as an adult. But when I was a kid, why do I want to talk about something in some guy in a suit that's not real, that's doing things that is less impressive than the people that I follow are doing in real life? Spinning a web any size, that's not as cool as driving a funny car that's on nitromethane that catches on fire, and it's just not as cool. It's not as cool. And so I was never into that stuff. I was into Snake and Garlits and Shirley and drag racing and funny cars and, kind of a one-track mind, which is why I'm here. Click subscribe, WFO Radio. Let's see. Randy, great show as always. Look at Roger Richards, another celebrity. Number 2 now, Roger. Snake, number 1. We got Ali. What's up? Excuse me, sir. Whatever happened to those sexy Team Mellow Yellow guys? Those guys were amazing and beautiful. Yes, Ali, the comedian. Literally, he is actually a comedian. They're, I don't know what they're going to be called, but I'm hoping that they'll be involved in the future. They're going to be called, I don't know. I don't want to say anything that is bad humor because I don't want it to be taken as truth. But there was all kinds of very funny Camping World related jokes, Ali. So there you go. Monica, thank you for today's show. Really enjoyed it. Snake, such an awesome icon of the sport. Yes, one of our greatest, the greatest maybe of all time in all of motorsports. AJ, Mario, Petty, Earnhardt, Garlits, Snake, Muldowney, Glidden, Force, motorsports icons like, Dan Gurney, the top list, the best of the best. Snake is in there, except what Snake has that a lot of them don't have is the cool factor. And we don't understand, but now we do understand. Let me tell you, the biracial situation or mixed race or however you want to call it, in 2020, it's not nothing, but it's not nothing. It's something. But rethinking the diversity angle of NHRA drag racing, it's easy to see. It's easy to understand. It wasn't publicized back then because, Snake didn't even really understand himself, but kind of interesting. Yeah, the hat pins, man. I got amazing hat pin collection from back in the day. They were very expensive. I'm keeping them forever. Speaking of collectibles, I want to announce a contest right now for all you people out there. It's called Beat My Old School Collectible. All right? Look at this. Beat My Old School Collectible. Do you know what this is? This was purchased in 1984 at the Gator Nationals. It is an NHRA inflatable seat cushion that they would sell because it was such a pain, literally, to sit in the bleachers. This thing still holds air. It is a balloon from 1984. So let's do a running contest for no prize unless I decide to give you a mask or something. Beat my collectible. This thing still holds air. It's from 1984. It's totally disposable, and yet somehow it's survived. The hat pins will last a lifetime. This thing, how was I able to make this thing survive? Exactly. Thing is, when you maintain your equipment, folks, you got to maintain your equipment or have a closet that you don't know what's going in. Let's see. Thanks, Joe. Got my Rodax and some gifts the other day, and for me, good stuff. Yes. Way to go, Jeff. Thank you very much for supporting Marvin Rodak and RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. The guy is the best. What can I say? But until you try it and have the experience, it's just Joe hawking coffee on here. And then you try it and you're like, oh, next level. You got to have Snake autograph your hat. No, I'm not an autograph guy. That's the thing. I got some autographs here or there. Speaking of Beat My Collectible, I found an NHRA flag the other day with all kinds of autographs. Half of them, I don't even know. Snake, the best. Snake is the best. Great show, says Larry. Randy says Randy G, not Gee, G, like my friend Tom Gee. Love to hear Big Daddy and Coletta. Yeah, Big Daddy, I've been brought back to do the Hall of Fame next year, so I'm super excited about that. We're going to try to get Garlits on here, but none of it works as long as my guests can't hear me. Gonna have to send out a pair of earbuds that are communal. I first met Snake in 77. That is awesome, John. Yeah, I was 4. My kid was 5 years old, was in awe when he met the Snake. Well, here's another thing about Snake is he can be intimidating if you make it that way. Oh my gosh, I'm meeting this guy, the icon, the amazing person. But he's really nice and funny and friendly and helpful. For instance, like he's having audio issues. He made it work great. Let's see. Warren Bader says, hi, Joe. Happy holidays. Have you heard anything about Larry Dixon possibly getting a ride in 2021? I've heard that Larry Dixon wants to try to get a ride and come back. I haven't spoken with Larry. I would love to do that. Larry Dixon was always a WFO favorite. Came on the show for, I don't know, he's probably his last 15 wins, especially when we were on XM. Never said no. And I really appreciate that. It would never gotten here to this point of greatness without Larry Dixon being so kind. Great show with the Snake, Joe. He is cool, authentic as they get. Buy the book. Buy the book, Chuck. That's it. I want to see Snake get a big pop from this. That's it. WFOradio.com. We got links to the book. Snake, the gear website, which is no longer up on the screen. But do it. And blow the seat cushion up. We want to see it. Yeah, you're not getting me to do that, Chuck. Come on, man. Using my own material against me. There's no way I would ever do that. There's zero chance I'm going to blow up anything in front of people. It's not a good look. Come on. How do you know my sense of humor so well, so quickly? Yeah, get people to do stuff that makes them look funny and silly and uncomfortable. That's it. That's pretty much the sense of humor. Grew up watching the Snake, legend, period. No doubt. No doubt. I do think about the life that he led. Can't wait to get the book. My copy is on its way. We decided to do the interview now so that all of you could buy gifts for your holiday people. And I'm going to go down there and get a couple for some people that are very special, because this is the ultimate gift for the holidays. Now, I do want to tell you, though, there is another book coming. There's another book coming that is going to be probably just as good. And that is the Warren Johnson book. And I want everybody to get geared up. We have the link to the Warren Johnson book in the WFO store also. So maybe you want to do a twofer. But the Warren Johnson book is going to be mega as well. John says you'll love it. John, I know I will. I know, because there's so many questions that I would love to have gotten into here, but this is a short interview. It is going to be great to see Snake and all the photographs, which many of them I have seen, but it's going to be better and better. All right, Don the Snake Prudhomme with us here on WFO Radio. All you folks, we've had a great week here on WFO. Alan Reinhart, Craig Bourgeois. Last week we had Brian Warner. We've got all kinds of champions. We'll be back next week for what will be the final week of WFO in 2020. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to try to get our holiday party going, but only if we sort out this bizarre audio issue that is crippling us. The thing's leaning out in the lights, and we don't know why. We don't know why, but we'll get it sorted out. Thanks to Snake. Thanks to Elon for setting it all up. Thanks to Donna for getting him in the right spot, set up. And everybody who supports the show, like these folks: Total Seal Piston Rings, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, samtech.edu, Marvin Rodak, and even the folks at Sanacor who jumped on this year and were very, very helpful. And as you know, and you can tell, love the sport of drag racing. It's a fantastic sport for countless reasons. And more and more, we're just going to try to do more and more. And we'll go out with some of the photos of Snake from the book. Thanks, Don. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week right here on WFO Radio.